What he lacked in wealth, he made up for in brilliance, compassion, and drive. From a young age, teachers flagged Malik as exceptional. He read early, excelled in science, and never once turned in a project halfway done. By middle school, he was attending weekend robotics camps and writing essays on medical ethics. In high school, he volunteered at a local shelter and interned at a neighborhood clinic. Malik didn't just want to be a doctor, he wanted to be a doctor for his people. His father, Calvin, supported every dream. Every 5 a.m. drop-off, every application fee, every all-nighter fueled by cheap coffee and determination. Calvin was the kind of man who worked 2 jobs but never missed a parent-teacher conference. He believed in systems, in hard work, education, and institutions meant to uplift. He believed in justice. That belief died the same night his son did. Malik had just turned 23. He was returning home from his shift at the hospital when Officer Trevor Boyd pulled him over. License and registration, Officer Trevor Boyd demanded, hand already hovering near his holster. Malik reached for his wallet, calm and respectful. Yes, sir. It's right here in my 3 shots. Before he could even finish his sentence, Malik's body jerked, blood splattering across the dashboard. His head slumped forward. His phone slid to the floor, still unlocked on a text to his father that read, "Heading home, Pops." Body cam footage showed Malik with his hands raised. The report claimed he matched a vague description of a robbery suspect, 6 feet tall, wearing scrubs, carrying a backpack. The footage was grainy, shaky. Malik's voice could barely be heard. "I work here. I'm going home." Seconds later, gunfire. Trevor Boyd was placed on administrative leave, then quietly reinstated. No charges filed. The investigation stalled. Calvin asked questions. He called. He filed paperwork. He hired a lawyer. He waited, but nothing came. News stations reported it briefly, a few lines beneath larger headlines. Another black man. Another traffic stop. And somewhere quietly, a white coat hung untouched in a closet. A symbol of what could have been, now just fabric and thread. The kind of promise that doesn't make it into reports. The kind that dies quietly alongside the people who carry it. The chapel was packed beyond capacity. Rows of metal folding chairs had been added to accommodate the overflow of mourners, and still dozens stood along the walls. Some wore suits, others jeans and hoodies, but all wore the same expression. Grief tempered by something deeper, a collective ache, a shared fury. The air was heavy with it, pressing down on everyone like the weight of unfinished prayers. Calvin sat in the front row, rigid, dressed in a suit he hadn't worn since his mother's funeral. The black fabric clung to him like a second skin, soaked in sweat and silence. He hadn't spoken much since the shooting, and he didn't speak now. His eyes stayed fixed on the casket at the front, sleek, polished, almost too beautiful for something that held so much loss. It looked like a contradiction, a vessel for a life that was meant to be elsewhere, not buried beneath flowers and sermons. Malik's photo stood on a tall easel beside the casket. He was smiling in it, white coat over a dress shirt, arms folded, eyes full of quiet determination. His stethoscope hung casually around his neck, a snapshot of a future that had never arrived. That same white coat now lay folded gently over the lid of his casket, as if waiting for him to rise and claim it. A young woman, one of Malik's former classmates, played the violin near the pulpit. The notes were soft and mournful, trembling just slightly in her hands. Somewhere in the back, a child cried. A few rows over, someone sobbed into their sleeve. But Calvin made no sound. He sat like stone, his hands clasped so tightly in his lap that his knuckles had turned white. When the pastor called for anyone to share memories, a line formed quickly. Students, teachers, and clinic volunteers. Each took the microphone and spoke of a man who had made their lives better. One who had mentored, listened, and healed. No one mentioned how he died. They didn't have to. It was etched in every tear, every pause, every forced smile. As the service ended, the crowd filled out slowly, many stopping to rest a hand on Calvin's shoulder. He nodded mechanically, eyes unfocused, mind elsewhere. At the burial, The casket was lowered into the ground with painful slowness. The finality of it struck like a hammer. As dirt began to fall, a man in uniform approached with a bouquet of lilies. Tucked between the stems was a card. It was from Officer Trevor Boyd. No apology, just a signature. Calvin stared at the flowers as if they'd crawled out of the grave. Then, without a word, he took the card, tore it into pieces, and pulled a lighter from his pocket. The flame rose quickly, curling the paper into ash. He dropped the burning remains beside the fresh mound of earth, watching as they crumbled into black dust near his son's headstone. He turned and walked away without looking back. There were no words left to say, not to the officer, not to the mourners, not even to God. The district attorney's announcement came on a rainy Monday morning. A brief press conference filled with legal jargon and stiff faces delivered the final blow. Officer Trevor Boyd, they said, had acted within department policy. No charges would be filed, no trial, no accountability. Charles sat in the back of the courthouse alone, shoulders hunched beneath a coat still damp from the weather. He didn't blink as the DA spoke. He didn't flinch when reporters scribbled their notes or when camera shutters clicked. When the statement ended, he stood slowly and walked out without a word. No reporters followed. No one called his name. At home, the silence thickened. The front door clicked shut behind him like the final lock on a cell. His phone rang often. Calls from friends, neighbors, and pastors, but he ignored them all. As the days passed, something inside Calvin began to shift. The weight of grief didn't lift. It sharpened. The numbness gave way to something colder, more precise. His eyes, once glazed with sorrow, began to narrow with focus. He started watching the news again. Not the national headlines, just local reports. He watched Trevor appear in brief interviews, arms crossed, face expressionless. He took note of the officer's routines, the neighborhoods he frequented, the gym he visited, and the coffee shop where he parked. Calvin began to write things down, names, addresses, habits. He scribbled them on the backs of envelopes, post-it notes, and old receipts. Then he organized the information neatly in a small notebook he kept tucked beneath his mattress. He didn't speak these days, not even to himself, but his hands were always busy. He cleaned the house, not out of care, but strategy. He boxed up old clothes, shredded documents, and removed anything that might raise questions. Then he disappeared. For almost a year, no one saw much of him. But Calvin was watching. He learned. He followed. He planned. He changed his name, grew a beard, moved into a rented room across town. He picked up gig jobs, maintenance, landscaping, delivery, blending in, invisible. He watched Officer Trevor Boyd's family. His son, Lucian. His wife, Leah. His daughter, Sarah. He mapped their routines, their vulnerabilities. Not for vengeance. Not at first. He said he wanted them to feel. Lucian Boyd went missing on a Saturday afternoon. He had told his mother he was going skateboarding. He never came home. For 3 days, police searched parks, malls, and wooded areas. His face flooded the local news. Amber Alert. Then, a video surfaced. A man in a hoodie is gently placing a blanket over Lucian's shoulders. Feeding him, talking to him. Lucian looked unharmed, calm. The man's face was obscured. The video was accompanied by a note. He's safe. But now you'll know the fear. Officer Trevor Boyd spiraled. His home was swarmed with reporters. Leah was placed under police watch. Sarah had a panic attack and was hospitalized. On the 7th day, Lucian was found in a church parking lot, unharmed but shaken. He couldn't describe the man. He was kind, Lucian said. He told me his son was taken too. No charges were filed. No fingerprints. No trail. But Calvin wasn't finished. A few weeks later, Leah Boyd went missing. Not kidnapped. Just gone. Her phone was left at home. Car abandoned. A week passed. Then 2. Then 3. Then her body was found in a ravine. No bruises. No trauma. Toxicology clean. Cause of death. Hypothermia. But a camera, hidden in a tree above the site, captured a single frame. Leah, sitting on the edge, staring out over the water. Beside her, a man with a beard, holding a photo. Malik's photo. Sarah Boyd became a recluse. She had stopped answering unknown numbers weeks ago, but the messages kept coming. Not threats, at least not legally. Just haunting words. You sleep in the bed while my son lies in the dirt. He had a white coat waiting. You have a coffin coming. The texts came from different numbers. Burners. The police advised her to change phones, to keep a weapon nearby. None of it helped her sleep. One morning, she found a gift bag on her doorstep. No tag. No note. Inside was an expensive bottle of red wine. She opened it that evening, poured a glass, took a sip. 10 minutes later, she collapsed in the kitchen. When paramedics arrived, she was gone. Beside her body was a black and white photo of Malik, smiling in his white coat. It wasn't stained. It wasn't folded. It looked like it had been placed there with reverence. The wine held no prints. The street had no witnesses. Just one man in a landscaping uniform walking away. Calvin had vanished before the sirens even arrived. He began writing at night, long after the streets went quiet. He sat at Malik's old desk with a stack of lined paper and a fading photo pinned to the wall. He wrote 23 letters, one for every year Malik had lived. Each one started the same way, "Dear son," and from there poured a confession. The planning, the disguises, the silent nights, the second guesses. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He told Malik how every step came from the space where his future used to live. When the final letter was written, Calvin placed them all in a shoebox. Malik's old basketball shoes had come in it. The box was worn, soft at the edges. He didn't label it. He didn't seal it. He just closed the lid. The box arrived at a local black-owned news station. Inside was a flash drive. Grainy videos of Logan walking with Calvin, laughing. Maps of the Boyd residence. Leah's school schedule. Sarah's weekly routine. Malik's autopsy report. Homicide circled in yellow. And a final video. Calvin sat at Malik's desk. The same clothes he wore to the funeral. Older now. Thinner. He looked at the camera, then placed a photo of Malik in front of him. They killed my son and called it policy, he said. I killed theirs and called it pain. Then silence. The video ended in static. The newsroom froze. The video was authentic. The police were notified after copies had been saved, encrypted, and passed to trusted journalists. Within hours, the story went viral. Some called him a terrorist. Others called him a prophet. But no one ignored him. The next morning, Calvin walked to the cemetery. He carried 3 things: a bouquet of lilies, the shoebox of letters, and Malik's white coat. He laid the flowers down first, then the box, then draped the coat over the stone like a proud father prepping his son for an interview. He pulled out one last letter. Not part of the 23. Not numbered. I made them feel what I felt, he wrote, but I couldn't fix what they broke in me. When he finished reading, he placed it inside the box, then rested his forehead on the grave. Then Calvin took out a pistol, old, wrapped in cloth. He sat cross-legged in front of the grave, the sun rising behind him. He looked at Malik's photo, whispered, I love you, son. I'll see you soon, and pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the cemetery. Birds scattered. A jogger paused mid-stride, confused. The photo fluttered in the wind. The pistol fell to the grass. No one witnessed it. No one was meant to. The news broke by noon. Father of police shooting victim found dead beside son's grave. The letters, the white coat, the video, the internet erupted. Debates, protests, tears, murals, a scholarship fund. Malik's name lived on in classrooms and murals. But Calvin's name became a whisper, a wound, a question. Was he a criminal? Was he a father? Was he both? To the black community, Calvin wasn't a villain. He was a mirror. Not everyone agreed with what he did, but almost everyone understood why he did it. And in a nation where justice is treated like a privilege, Calvin became a reminder. Grief doesn't disappear. It evolves. Thank you for watching. subscribe, like, and share. And stay tuned for more stories.